Welcome to OnCore for the week of April 1st. Let's get right into the biggest news in mobile games. This week we're talking about two of the big console gaming juggernauts and how they're trying to both ease into the mobile gaming market. Let's start out with Nintendo, who just announced that their first ever mobile app, Miitomo, is now available in the United States and Europe. Miitomo has already been out for a couple weeks in Japan, and in that short amount of time, Nintendo claims that the app has been downloaded over 1 million times, which is pretty impressive, but it probably won't be as much of an instant hit in the Western world because it's kind of a weird app. When you first fire it up, you can create your new Miis using your smartphone's camera. The app also allows you to import your Miis from your 3DS or your Wii U via a QR code. Once your Mii is created, you'll be able to connect to your friends through Facebook and Twitter. Miitomo allows you to socialize with your friends through a Q&A mode. The app will ask you a simple question like, what is your favorite food? And your answer will be shared with your friends who will also be able to chime in. All the while you'll be gaining Miitomo coins, which is the in-game currency. So you can see why an app like this would be a certified hit in Japan, but it's gonna be a tougher sell here in the United States. I can definitely see a younger American audience embracing this app as a very unique social network for their friends, since you can do fun things like posting your Mii as a meme on Instagram or Facebook. So that's our first look at Nintendo's new mobile app. Let's move on to Sony, who's also making a huge bet on mobile with the announcement of a new company that will be focusing on PlayStation mobile games. This company will be called ForwardWorks, which seems a little bit clever as it likely implies that Sony is looking forward into the future of gaming and sees mobile playing a huge part in that future. And guess what, Sony? We totally agree. You're making a very, very smart move. So according to the press release that Sony put out this week, the new venture will produce fully fledged titles that include well-known PlayStation characters and IP. So even though this sounds like the same move Nintendo made with DNA about a year ago, we shouldn't expect PlayStation's version of Miitomo. Full-fledged titles hints at a more traditional development slate, like a mobile version of God of War or Gran Turismo. But much like Nintendo, ForwardWorks will initially focus on the Japan and Asia markets with their first efforts into the mobile game space. And like we mentioned with Miitomo, this makes perfect sense because the mobile gaming culture in Japan alone is years ahead of what we have in the United States. This news of Sony's new mobile-focused company pretty much confirms the end of their failed PlayStation Mobile initiative. The goal of PS Mobile was to bring classic PS1 titles to Sony Xperia phones and integrate a familiar PlayStation interface into their mobile OS, with the hope that their hardcore PlayStation followers would make Xperia their go-to platform for smartphones. But that didn't quite shake out as planned. Another takeaway from this news is Sony's lack of confidence in the future of the PS Vita. They've already all but shut down any plans to develop first-party titles for the Vita, and the platform is only alive today because of the booming indie game market and the Vita's ability to play PS4 games remotely. Now, there's no word on whether or not we'll see a PlayStation mobile game in 2016, but we're expecting to hear more about these mobile games from Sony at their press event at E3. And finally, we have a trailer for a new game called Chameleon Run. This comes to us from Noodlecake Games and looks to be a very interesting take on the mobile platforming genre. In the game, your character can switch colors to land on the proper platforms. Interestingly enough, the game's developer, Yanni Lovsky, is actually colorblind, which gave the game such a unique color palette. Chameleon Run comes out next week, so keep an eye out for it on the app stores. Looks like a ton of fun. And that's all the news we have for you on this week's edition of OnCore. Are you going to be downloading the Miitomo app? And what do you think about PlayStation games coming to your smartphone? Let us know by tweeting at us, and we'll see you next time.